Hey there, so I am going to really support you today in freeing up a little extra energy that you can use on whatever you want. Today we're talking about the futility of trying to change other people. And I have a quote for you from Davis-Weir, I think is how you say his last name. Consider how hard it is to change yourself, and you'll understand what little chance you have of trying to change others. So this idea of, gosh, we have people in our life who we love or we care about, or who are just, for whatever circumstances in our lives, and sometimes we're like, man, if I could just change this one thing about you, it would make my life so much better. So how often do we consciously or subconsciously do this? You know, this like trying to change, and it's really comes from this need to control our circumstances and a belief that if we can control our circumstances, we'll be okay. And often it shows up like trying to control other people around us and in our life. And it's such an energy drainer. Trying to control other people is such a drain of your energy. So while it can be argued for sure that we help each other change, we help each other grow, 100%, but at the end of the day, the responsibility for change, you can only be responsible for changing you. So if we each really get clear on that, like my responsibility is to change me, and their responsibility is to change them, and be really clear about where those lines are, it creates a much healthier relationship. So my name is Tally. I'm a life and personal development coach, and I work with leaders to create lives of overflowing impact in the world, centered in a place of joy. All about getting you aligned to who you most truly are, get you firing on all cylinders, and creating a life that you love living. And today, talking about the power of changing ourselves, not other people. So some reasons why you might want to think about this a little bit, why you might want to move toward changing you and not other people. One is the energy drain. Like that is just one of the biggest ones. One of the things that I work with my clients one-on-one a lot around is like where do you gain energy and where do you drain energy? So like what are the things that you do in your life that cause you to feel more energized, and how can we accelerate those things, increase those things in your life? And where are the big energy leaks? Like where you just have holes in the bottom of your boat, water just keeps filling it and it's exhausting. Like where are you draining energy, and how do we plug those things up and keep you from leaking energy? And controlling other people is one of those big ones often. So the energy is a huge one. It also, when you're focused on the flaws in other people, when you're focused on trying to change or control other people, it actually takes the focus off of you doing your own work. And in codependent relationships, there's kind of this like, I'll help you, but I kind of demand that you do that back. And it can get really unhealthy, and it's actually not nearly as effective as both people taking on their own stuff and looking at what gets to change in them and finding the motivation and the vision for creating what it is they want to create in their life. And when you're both doing that, so powerful. The other thing is that it's actually impossible. You actually cannot change anybody except for yourself. You can inspire people, you can motivate, you can teach, you can be an example, but you can't actually change anyone. I mean, that's even in my line of work, and I can't change a single client. I can inspire them, I can help them connect to what it is that's there for them and what they want, but that's really the only power I have, is to help them find that in themselves. So the impossibility of it, right? And then that quote, I just love, one of the ways to shift it is honestly to get into that place of empathy. If you find yourself, if you can resonate with this, and I think all of us can at some level, you know, where we see there being a greater possibility for someone else, whether it's a client or a child or a spouse or a friend or an employee or somebody that you, whatever, that you can see what is possible for them and what would be wonderful for them, and you want it for them more than they do. That's a hard place to be, and that turning that back over and getting into acceptance that only they can change themselves, and thinking about, one of the things that flips it for me if I find myself in this place where I'm trying to control, is to think about how hard it is for me to change the things that are so hardwired into me that I can see that aren't working, that I'm working on changing. When you think about how hard it is to change yourself, and this is the quote by Davis-Weir, consider how hard it is to change yourself, and you'll understand what little chance you have of trying to change others. So beautiful, just looking at the empathy side of that. I think it's a way to shift it and think about, that process of change and what you have to go through in order to really shift some things in your life, and have empathy for, like, we are all where we are and who we are, and we do the things that we do for really valid reasons. And it doesn't mean that they're working, it doesn't mean that they're helpful, but they're there for a very specific reason. It's around your personality type, it's around what you grew up with, it's around what got hardwired in terms of the messaging, what you've come to believe about yourself and about the world and how things work. All of that is there for really valid reasons, and it's going to take a choice on behalf of that other person to create the change in themselves. So having empathy, I think, is a way to shift it. And I think that's where I want to leave it, because I feel like we're getting a little bit long here. So let's leave it here. Let's get this applied in your life. One person who you feel like, man, if I could change anything about anyone in my life right now, it would be this thing. And just connect to who that is in your life and what that thing is. And maybe even take a look at your behaviors, your attempts to try and get this person to change. Maybe it's very well-meaning. Maybe you just really care about this person and you see the freedom that's available for them, or you see the possibility that's available for them. But look at the behaviors that you have engaged in to try to get someone else to change, and just look at, how can I shift into a place of acceptance and loving them exactly where they are right now. It doesn't mean you need to accept all the behaviors or that you don't have boundaries. That's so important to have. But accept them where they are, for who they are in this moment, and knowing that they are the one that has the power to change themselves. So getting into a place of acceptance, looking at what boundaries you need to set, and just kind of turning that over. Sometimes, and I found this to be true in my life because I'm kind of a supporter type personality, often when I've been overly responsible for the changes in someone else, it actually causes them to just shift into this like cruise control where they don't take it on. In fact, sometimes they even resist it because I'm taking more responsibility for their life than they are. So really important, I think, for us to look at how are we doing that, and how can we take our hands off of that and put that energy on our own growth, our own change. So blessings to you today with that. I hope this is really supportive for you in just creating more energy in your life for you to grow and change, and a greater self-acceptance to just let people be where they are, and it gives you actually more self-compassion in your own journey. When you're not judging and critiquing and trying to control other people, you actually have more of that place of grace and compassion to extend to yourself in your own journey. So blessings to you today. We'll be back again this weekend with some more words of wisdom, sending you a lot of love today. Blessings.